from the heart.
That's the best place.
The only way I know to do it.
So we'd like to welcome everybody to our Transform Our World New Orleans. I have the pleasure of introducing.
I thought you were going to say I have the pleasure of not teaching tonight.
No.
You didn't have to study all your 10 hours or 12 hours for your lesson.
I have the pleasure of introducing my lovely wife, HollyKem, and she will be teaching on Let There Be Light.
Let there be light, since we had no electricity today.
So without further ado, I turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. Well, since we, as I said, I shoot from the heart. And I think that really comes from for myself is learning, as a life coach, as a therapist, as a counselor, whatever you want to call me. When someone comes in for session, and I spend 2 hours with them, and I could be from 6 weeks to a year, 2 years, whatever we do. I don't know what they're going to tell me. I have no idea. They might say something on the phone. They got this issue or this issue, but you really have no idea, like really what's coming your way. So you have to be awake. You have to be connected to God. You have to be connected to the Holy Spirit, and nothing can be about you. Like, I can't be thinking about myself. I can't be thinking about my husband, my child, what's happening surrounding around me. All I can do is be present. And one thing that I do know is that the only way to have his presence is to be present. That's the only way. That's like, I've known this since I got sober, and in January 10th will be 40 years. Like, this is how I live. This is not it's not how I study. This is not something that, is like something you pull out of the hat and what you do. Like, this is how I live day to day, hour to hour, minute by minute, second by second, is I need to be right now, right here where I'm at. And I think that's probably why my practice has always been successful for 36 years, at least 36 years, 37 years. In that I had to be in the room. I could not have anything else in my heart, on my mind. I had to be right there listening for what was coming to me, and trusting in God. In the beginning in my practice, the first thing that I did was if I'm nervous now, that doesn't usually happen, but I'm not saying it couldn't happen. But in the beginning, I would be, these are people's lives. These are people's families. These are people's children. This is a big deal to me. So in that, I would say internally to myself as they would come in, help me, Jesus, be with me, Jesus, help 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 me, Jesus, as I'm listening. And then that would just go away, and he would help me, So through that process, I don't always have to say that, because now I have the knowing that he's always there, that he's never not with me, wherever I'm at, whatever I'm doing. And, today, to shift a little bit, but today we had some electricity issues. The lights kept going in and off. And then we finally got the truck to come out and work on it. We had no electricity until 6:27. So it was to start 3 minutes. So on the third day in 3 minutes, right? So in that, Dina called Leon to say, okay, I'm gonna get on my phone. You're gonna have to do prayer because you ain't gonna be able to see Dina, HollyKem, and I. We're in the dark, and the light came on.
Leon said, "Let there be." He said, "Let there be light." And the light came on.
The lights came on. So in that, thinking about, like, my son calls me a Grinch because I don't have a lot of, I don't have really any Christmas up, and a little bit in this house on the outside, and, but none at the other house. And, when I had my offices, like when we had, Dean has offices, but when we had the big offices and stuff, I never put Christmas up because there are people that this is our hurricane season. This is when people come because they have lost people, they divorce, they can't see their children, their grandchildren, whatever, trauma. So I never had any Christmas decorations up, because if I did, then what would happen? They would be triggered. They're already triggered while they're coming, but now they're going to get triggered more. So it was a safe place for them to come where they didn't have to have all that in their face. And then we could deal with what they had to deal with and then go back out into the world. And so when you take all of that, it's like, how do you stay the light in the most difficult situation in the holidays? And I think that, I guess there are some people that have, everything goes very smooth for them for Christmas, and everybody's there that they love. I haven't met them yet. I'm not saying that they're not out there. I just haven't met them, because so many of us have relationships that we've lost a parent or two. We don't have our grandparents. One of our children may be spending with their in-laws instead of with us. Maybe that the trade of everybody being with us versus the other side, or somehow it got mixed up, or, you could have somebody in the hospital. I mean, there's 1,000 reasons, and not even that they're bad reasons, but it's life. And then there's people missing in our lives on these celebratory days. So how do you stay the light when there's so much grief and pain in our lives? Like yesterday was the 18th, right? Yeah. And my dad died 2 years ago. I mean, it was a Monday. It was a Monday night when I even got the call. I don't know how that happened, but that he had fell and broke his hip. Oh, that's right, because it was on the 16th, and then he died 2 days later. So in that, as we're looking at stay in the light during this time, how do we really shine in the missing? How do we shine in the difficult people? How do we shine in the expectations that it's not always going to go right? I forgot who we were with, but we were with somebody, and they tried like 3 or 4 different ways to 3 or 4 different ways to fry a turkey. Oh, it was one of my clients, and everything did not work until like the next day. And they finally fried their turkey the day after Thanksgiving. They had all the trimmings, but no turkey. And it was like hours and hours that they were trying to get this fryer to work. They couldn't buy a fryer. It was a mess. So, there's times when things just don't go right. Something happens, the oven doesn't work. Like us right now, we don't have a refrigerator at the other house. Thank God we're not hosting Christmas, that could be a little bit dicey. And they say getting appliances ain't that easy these days. So, really wanting to stay, in my language, like the way that I stay with my sessions and with my clients, that I stay right now, right here in the moment, and be with whoever's in front of me. Instead of being who's missing, what's going wrong, who's not there, who I want to be there, who I don't want to be there, what food I really want to eat versus the food that is being served. And really going into who am I speaking to? Who am I looking at? And how can I be the most like Jesus in that moment? How am I going to not be the baby Jesus and wine, and be the resurrected Jesus, and shining and looking for the gold in the person that's in front of me? And, on this call, every one of us that is, face to face right now, we've all been trained how to look for the gold. We have been, we've been with Dean and y'all have been with many, many leaders all through your walk with Jesus that have taught you how to look for the gold in another human being. Look for it in yourself and look for it in another human being. So that's really the challenge of this season for myself and for what I'm going to put out there into the universe, is that we each do what Jesus did in this season right now. And that becomes our gift to who's in front of me. Not the present I bought, not the pretty gift that I packaged up, not how much money I spent or didn't spend, but how am I finding the gold in that person and speaking it, as we say, this is voice of the kingdom. How am I becoming the voice of the kingdom and speaking that into each human being that I have the opportunity to do it to in my life? If I'm in the long lines at Walmart, if I'm in the long lines at Costco's, if I'm in the long lines at whatever store I'm in, or I'm dealing with my neighbors, I'm dealing with my family, I'm dealing with friends, I'm dealing with, difficult people. How do I look for the gold? And I become that shining light. And, the most difficult people to do it with is family. It really is. And we were speaking earlier about familiar spirits, and, family means familiar. That's what it means. So and I'm not saying that's a bad spirit. I'm just saying in the familiarity, it's real easy for us, just like it is for them, to go back to the unhealthy communication, the unhealthy functioning, the unhealthy picking on your brother. Oh, look at you, boy, you getting a little weight, huh, bro? You know how we do. Oh man, what happened to your hair, girl? You forgot to color it before you got it. Whatever we do, sibling stuff, fun stuff. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that. What I am saying is, if I go there in that fun stuff, that I make sure that I double myself in the gold, that I go for the gold. What I wanted to tell you about yourself this year that I really noticed is that your quiet spirit of loving your children has been so beautiful. That the way that you have handled your education and taken it to heart to better yourself, to better the legacy of our family, to bring it to a whole new level of what our family has never seen, I want to honor that. Like where I dig for the goal and I go for it and I become vulnerable, knowing you're not going to get it back. That's not the goal. When you give a gift, and let's just say you were blessed this year and you were given, an extra $50,000 to buy gifts. And the deal was you had to spend it all on the people that you loved or the people that touched your heart, the organizations. You had to spend every dollar, every 50,000, and not one on you, that you would have to dig deep and give. But you're not getting that back because not everybody got the 50,000 that you're giving to. But you're going to give it with no expectations of receiving. You're just going to give this gold. Because what you're going to receive in the long run is going to be so great. There's no dollar amount that could ever be put on it. And you can't even see what that's going to look like. Because as we know, as Jesus walked this earth, Jesus was the light. Jesus was the light. However, when he died and became darkness and went to hell for 3 days and fought his way out and came out with the keys and walked this earth again for another 40 days, which just still blows my mind, walked this earth for another 40 days with love and forgiveness and giving the gold out, like to Thomas, hey, here I am, come look, and Peter, don't you love me? Tell me you love me 3 times. He just kept giving the gold. And now look how many people he has touched that none of us have ever seen him in the light that they did. I mean, Jesus has received so many people for the kingdom of God by giving the gold. And we know what God said. God made gold and it is good. You see, I know my little scripture. I went to my little church. So are we looking for the gold? Are we going to be the giver of the treasure? And knowing that I'm the one with the treasure chest. I'm not looking for you with the treasure chest to give me the gold. That's not it. That's not what we were told to do. We were told to open the treasure chest and give the gold. Be the light. We're going to, I always say you can go to Word of Life with Dr. Leroy Thompson, where we went for 8 years, and you can go in as an unmature Christian, which kind of meant for us, like we didn't know the word the way they knew the word, like they could find in the Bible, the address and all that. But you're not going to stay there unless you're going to grow. And not just hearing the word, but learning to live the word. Be a doer of the word, which who is the word? Jesus. Jesus is the word. So if you're a doer of the word, you are being like Jesus. You are the Bible in live action. And what we used to say in the 12 steps, I may be the only big book you ever see. The big book is the way you live the 12 steps. That you may be somebody that never gets to a 12-step meeting. You may never get to go to treatment. You may never get to have the 12 steps and loved and taught and all that. But if I am sober and I am living the 12 steps, I may be the only big book of Alcoholics Anonymous you ever see. Well, there's no difference in the Bible. I may be the only word that you see. So if I am representing him, how am I walking on this earth? Especially in this trying time of familiarity. Because look, even if you have a highly dysfunctional family and you're not with them, you miss them. So then you long for them. And then if you're with the dysfunctional family, you're like, what am I doing here? But you're going to miss them if you're not there. So you might as well be the treasure. You might as well go for it. And, I always tell people, like, there's times when being with certain people, if you can't be the light and you can't be your true self, maybe it's best that you pull back until you can, so you do no more damage. There are times when we all have to do that. I've had to do that if I can't pull myself together to be who I truly am, that God intended me to be, then I need to stay away, in love with my heart until I can be in that environment and be myself, because I don't want to cause more damage. And that still is hurtful for people, because they like, why can't you be here? Why can't you come? Like, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with us? No, I am not in a position, I have not healed enough internally to pull myself together to be that if I get triggered, that if I'm not being the light internally, inside, that I don't want to think bad thoughts. I don't want to speak bad thoughts. I don't want to give ugly gifts through my words. I want to be able to be myself. I want to be like Jesus. I want to be the light. I want to be kind. I want to be generous. Even if you diss me. I mean, think about Jesus. He walked on this earth for 40 days after he was betrayed, beaten, destroyed, denied, rejected. I can understand him coming back for 3 days. Okay, 3 in hell, 3 on earth. That's about the same. Okay. And he goes to heaven. No, he stays for 40 whole days on earth and walks this earth with such love and forgiveness for the human beings that murdered him, that killed him. I mean, let's get real. I mean, that's some serious stuff. I'm like, look, kudos goes to him. That, like, nobody stands up to that to me. I mean, there's one thing taking the nails. There's another thing being beat and tore up. But then you're going to come back to the people. I mean, you're coming back to the human beings that was a part of this thing. Yes. With love in your heart. I mean, I mean, I know we all had some serious stuff happen to us, but I haven't met anybody that was like that bad, you know? I hadn't yet anyway. I'm not saying they ain't out there, but I'm just saying like that's some serious stuff. And he was able to do it. So, and we know that Jesus was, a lot of people are like, yeah, he was God. Yes, he was. But he gave up his divinity to become a man. Now, yes, when he came back, he was still, he came as divinity, but he still was here in a human body because they saw him. They saw him as that. And the way they knew him was by his wounds. He had holes in his hands, or his, that he had holes there. He had holes. He had in his feet. He had where the sword was. Because when Thomas was like, who is this? He said, "Come, put your hand in my side." Mm-hmm. So why didn't Jesus or God take away his scars? Same reason why we don't get ours taken away, because it made him who he was. So, I would like mine to be gone, but who am I if Jesus didn't do it? I got to get over it, huh? Yeah. It's like, I'm not saying that I don't love myself through it. That's a whole nother thing. But to say, oh, well, that shouldn't happen, or it shouldn't wound me anymore, it shouldn't happen anymore. Well, I don't know about all that. It's like they are what they are, but I still have to be the light. I still have to walk in that love, first for myself, for others, and then God gets it all. Because he's not going to get more than I'm going to give myself. He's not going to get more than I give y'all. Everybody wants to love God, oh, I love God so much. But then you treat your neighbor like, no, God says, no, that's how you treat me. Y'all read the word, y'all know. Y'all can tell me the address, but I know the story. It's like it's hard to love ourselves and it's hard to love others, but we can do it because we have the presence. We have the present and we have the presence. Yes. And it's always interesting to me because like a lot of people, they don't understand the spirit of God. They don't, like it could get a little confusing, a little wordy or whatever, not on this, but in life. But when you think about it, people will say, oh, that person has the funnest spirit. They use those words all the time, but they don't really put it together. But for us, understanding it, it's like, let's put it together. Let's use all that we know, put it together, and really empower us with that spirit of God, that we have God's faith. I know for myself, it's like in the word of God, when I read it, it was saying what? It was saying, you need to have Jesus's faith, not your own faith. Don't lean onto your own understanding. We just studied about that, but have Jesus's faith. What is Jesus's faith? How much faith did it take for Jesus to say, I'm him, I'm Jesus from Nazareth. Go with them, go with the soldiers, go to Pontius Pilate and be crucified. How much faith does that take? To not complain as he was being beat. I'm sorry, I get out the chair and I'm like, it's like, how much faith does that take? Well, we use his faith to walk into where we need to go this next week. We use his faith to walk into love as he did after he came back from hell. We use because, we've all been to hell with some of these people. We experienced hell with them, or we had to watch hell happen around us or watch it around them. And that's a little scary, hey, I'm not, I get it. But he came back from hell and he was loving. We can do it. We can do this. And, I know for myself, when I first got sober, probably for about 6 years, I worked every holiday, every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, every New Year's. I would be the first one to volunteer. I'll take that. I'll take that shift. I'll take that. I'll work that week. Y'all can have it off. I'll work. I'll take it. because I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know how to be loving to myself or other people. So I could be loving to the people I worked with. But I didn't know how to do it inside my family or be nice to myself. And I was too walking around with no skin. I didn't have enough love around me internally. So I did the best I could. I worked. And I just kept building on myself. I just kept praying. I kept believing. I kept working on myself. And for 40 years, I haven't stopped. And I'm not going to stop till the day I die. And I'm sure when I get to heaven, I'll still have to do some work, but I'm willing. I'm willing to do the work, to live in the light, to be the light, and to be the most loving human being I can today, in this moment, right now. And I'm far from perfect. Ask my husband and my child. They'll tell you in a second. I am far from perfect. And
Not far.
no, I'm pretty far. But, when I was in my addiction, I thought I had to be perfect to be loved. That was what I believed. And what I learned is that perfection kills.
Yes.
It kills my thoughts. It kills my beliefs. In the healthy way. It kills God. It kills everything around me, because there's no way to be perfect, to make everything look like a magazine, for me to look like the magazine, to make my house look like the magazine, to make my child look like the magazine, to make my husband, well, he kind of looks like the magazine, but other than that, it's like my girlfriend said, how's the show going? The Zoom show, Voice of the Kingdom, or Transform My World, or I Have a Voice. I said, well, it's a little difficult to sit next to a movie star every day. I said, but I'm getting there. I said, he comes on camera and he's just like, perfect. I'm like, but look, you laughing at Tony because it's so true. Tony, look at me. I'm like, what? But I'm grateful. I have a beautiful man, but in that process, it's like perfection. If I get there, then I don't want to be on. And it's like, I got it. This is who I am with all the little, I want to sit here like this, like, hi, I'm stupid, but I don't have as many wrinkles, but that's stupid. It's like, nah, I just got to be who I am and pray that I get enough money one day to get a facelift. But other than that, I still got to be who I am and love myself and everybody around me, that I can't be like all judgmental, like looking at myself and going, oh my God, HollyKem, that's just too sick for me, So, and my son and my husband are very loving to me. They say, you look beautiful. I says, you look beautiful. My child says, Mom, you look great. You don't need to do that, which is so sweet. It's because it would be rough if they were like, get a tuck, woman. That wouldn't be nice. But, I just really want y'all to know that if, in my book, in my opinion, that if anyone can walk as Jesus walks this season, is the people on this call. Yes. There would be no doubt in my mind. And if you're anything like me, if I get a little shook up, where I'm like, ooh, getting in the past or getting too triggered or whatever, you can always excuse yourself and go to the bathroom. And, no one questions if you have diarrhea. Now, diarrhea could mean diarrhea of the mind, that you having some seriously not healthy thoughts, diarrhea of the heart that is being broken because you're not getting everything you want and it's not looking like you want. But, nobody questions you when you got diarrhea. You ain't got to tell them what kind of diarrhea. But you go to that bathroom and you get back in your presence and you get back with Jesus and you like, okay, God, I'm walking this earth. And the one thing that's the most important is worshiping you. And if I'm worshiping you, I can love another human being. Yes. No matter what's happening. And if worst case scenario, you can always leave. You can always leave where you're at with grace and mercy before it gets ugly. And that's how you do it. And we will be the light. Voice of the Kingdom, Transform My World, New Orleans will be the light. So I love you guys. I don't know how I'm doing on time. Am I good?
You got the privilege.
Oh, I didn't know. But I just know that
And when you want to end.
I get to sleep with the boss, huh? But in that is Christmas is like my not happy place. I'm not a Christmas girl. I want to go out of town. My husband is going to, I'm speaking it. My husband will take me out of town one Christmas. I've been asking for 31 years. I don't want to do Christmas. I want to go out of town. I want to go experience peace in another way. But until that happens, I have to show up and I have to be.
I'm trying to
myself.
explain to her, if you go out of town, you still have to take yourself. And so if you don't
I know,
Christmas,
but I just want to go whatever was there's no Christmas tree. And but that's okay. But I'm gonna show up like I always do and be the best I can be.
Yes.
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 Awesome.
Well,
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Jingle bells, baby, jingle bells.
Yes.
Amen.
I feel
amen.
yeah, I was gonna say I feel like Rhonda's little grandson. He
Mhm.
posted a post of him giving his little lovey. I think it might have been the Blues Clues bear. It was a little blue stuffed animal. He put him in a timeout, and then he put himself in a timeout.
Sure.
That was the cutest thing. And so we have to do like him and put ourselves in timeout if we need to, if we are not staying in the light. I just thought that baby was so smart. He knew he wanted the treat, but he understood if you stop, you can get a reward.
Mhm.
Be still and know I am God. Moses used to say that all the time. Be still and know that I am God, Mom. And that's exactly what he did. He went be still, know he was God, and he would get a reward. And we all will get a reward if we do that. Yep.
Yeah.
Amen.
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 Wow.
We're going to process that, but before we do so, we'll just give you an opportunity to give an offering if you feel led. If you're doing Venmo, it's Voice of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
PayPal, Voice of the Kingdom -New Orleans. Or you can go to voiceofthekingdom.org and there's a donate tab there if you'd like to give into the ministry of us transforming the city of New Orleans.
Yes.
And so we sure appreciate my wife teaching today.
Thank you, honey.
She always shoots straight from the heart.
That's right. Straight